Yeah, at the beginning I started really strong. I was like, I got this. This is going to be amazing. I'm doing something I love, that I'm passionate about. I'm going to change the world. And then slowly there were a few things that like knocked me down. And I think I just warped myself into this very dark place of overwhelm. And I kind of had this thought one day where I was like, okay, if I got myself into this hole, maybe I can get myself out of it. And it was such a simple thought, but I was like, it's my fault I'm here. I put pressure on myself. What am I going to do to get myself out of it?
Welcome to yanatv. What do you know about sustainable fashion, environmental friendly living, and conscious approach to life? Our guest today, Stephanie Dickson, knows everything about it. She is a rebel at heart, an ass kicker, a really go there and maker and influencer, a voice of change in the current generation who is really moving forward very actively, transforming communities. And Stephanie is also the founder of Green is the New Black, which is an absolutely awesome conscious festival that connects companies with customers who are willing to be the green warriors.
Wow, I hope I live up to that wonderful introduction.
No pressure. No pressure. Exactly.
Well, thank you for having me.
It's a pleasure, and we were trying to schedule it like forever.
I know.
You know,
I'm glad we finally made it work, and at this beautiful venue as well. I feel very special.
Yes, Gallery of Singapore. Yes, thank you for having us here. And I know it's also perfect timing. You know, I personally always believe that whatever happens, always for a reason and at the best moment possible. Like,
absolutely.
I know you very well, and I know you're striving now. So you're really flying. And so it's a great time to do the interview.
Yes, I'm very
And at the same time, it has not always been like that, for what I also know. So before we go into Green is the New Black, let's just focus a little bit more on your story where it all started. Like at that time when you were still working in the fashion industry.
Yeah, so I used to run fashion weeks around Asia, starting in Singapore and Thailand and Vietnam. And I loved it. It was my dream job. I always wanted to work in fashion as a young girl, and I'd done it for about 4 years. And then one day I kind of woke up and was like on autopilot. I really wasn't very happy anymore. I kind of just felt like I was doing things in my life because that was what you should be doing at that time. So that was one kind of awakening that I had. Then I started watching all these documentaries, which is always a rabbit hole once you start.
Which one is the favorite?
Oh, there's too many favorites, but the one that really triggered more of an awakening was The True Cost. So having worked in the fashion industry and watching The True Cost, I had literally had no idea how bad the fashion industry was. You know, I was used to the glitz and the glamour and the crazy and the personalities that go along with the fashion industry. But when I really saw the veil being pulled back and realized how socially, you know, there's so much corruption and almost like slave labor in fashion, and also the environmental impact of the clothes that we were wearing, I realized that I was actually part of the problem. By buying fast fashion, by supporting the brands I was buying at the time, I was actually feeding into this big system that I had no idea about. So that really woke me up a lot, and I realized that I don't want to be part of the problem anymore. How can I start being part of the solution? And along with my autopilot mode at the time, I decided I needed to wake myself up and to be more conscious and really figure out how I could actually do something for good. And that's really where I started on my journey, and where I started figuring out, okay, how can I use my skill set, which was in events, to do something? And therefore I started the festival, and that's really where Green is the New Black was born.
Which was about 3 years ago. Right?
Two years ago.
Yeah, that's right. And I know at the beginning, I mean, now you are like all over the pages everywhere, you know, and get probably interviews and I know questions all the time. But the road to success is never that simple, never. So how was that at the very beginning?
Yeah, at the beginning I started really strong. I was like, I got this. This is going to be amazing. I'm doing something I love, that I'm passionate about. I'm going to change the world. And then slowly there were a few things that like knocked me down and tore me down a little bit and pushed me away. And all of a sudden I found myself working way too hard, working too many jobs at once, trying to pay rent, trying to build my dream, but also, you know, do all these different things, and meeting people that were very successful that had no idea who I was. And that really affected me because they were looking at me like, who is this nobody who's trying to get me to do something? And I took that on. I put so much pressure on myself, and I ended up in a very dark hole. And that dark hole, I didn't even realize I was in a dark hole. And I started being antisocial, not wanting to see my friends. I would find myself crying for no reason, walking down the street in the middle of the day and just not even knowing what was going on. And yeah, my boyfriend was really worried about me. My friends started getting really worried about me. And I think I just warped myself into this very dark place of overwhelm. I don't like using the D word, but kind of along the lines of in a really deep place. And it was really hard and painful. And I think what got me out was realizing that, okay, I have a problem. This is not normal.
I mean, acknowledging it.
Exactly. Thank you. So acknowledging that, okay, this is happening and I'm in this dark place. And I kind of had this thought one day where I was like, okay, when I couldn't get out of bed one day, I was like, I literally felt like I had no reason, no purpose to get out of bed. And I was like, if I got myself into this hole, maybe I can get myself out of it. And it was such a simple thought, but I was like, it's my fault I'm here. I put pressure on myself. What am I going to do to get myself out of it? And that was a really, I guess, turning point in my thought process. And I guess I shifted something enough to be like, I don't want to be this person who can't get out of bed. This is ridiculous. Like, I am a positive, happy person. I was anyway. I need to find that again. So I literally had to rebuild my foundations. And that was the hardest thing I've ever had to do, but it was one of the most rewarding. And I feel like I'm a much stronger person because I fell so hard, and then I've had to rebuild myself over the last maybe two and a half years.
So when you were in the dark place, what we call the dark night of the soul, you know, which everyone flips in from time to time on the way to success, in your particular case, what did actually help you to get out and build yourself back and up again?
Yeah, so I started with one thing at a time. I started first meditation, then I built onto gratitude journal. I was reading a lot and, you know, finding gurus or sort of online coaches, I guess, that really spoke to me. And I listened to their podcasts, I watched their videos, I read their articles. I just started feeding my mind with stuff that was much more positive, that was starting to light me up again inside. And again, just a lot of repetition. So meditation, gratitude journal, that was really game changing. Once I got that down pat, the thing that really helped me was telling myself that I love myself in the mirror. It was a really difficult thing to do, and it was my mom that told me to do it. She was like, I want you to stand in front of the mirror and you're going to tell yourself that you love yourself. And I was like, I can't do that. That's so weird. And she was like, nope, you're going to do it until you laugh. So just do it and just do it. So I did it and repeated it so many times I started laughing at myself in the mirror. And breaking that hatred, that self-loathing, that internal mean dialogue, I realized that actually, you know, you spend the most time with yourself in this whole world with your internal dialogue. So why are we being cruel to ourselves? Why do I have this mean girl inside? And I decided that I wanted to be a nice girl inside, and I wanted to be my best friend. Or at least try. So I started being kinder to myself. I started telling myself that I love myself in the mirror. I still do it now. The days I forget, I really do feel like are not as strong as other days. So
I do this all the time before I leave the mirror. You know, you're like,
yeah, and it sounds really weird, but it's game-changing.
It
right?
is.
Yeah.
Yes, it is.
So those kind of things really helped. And then I just started, you know, repeating all of these things and just, you know, saying mantras and repeating stuff over and over and over again. And one day it just got easier. I mean, of course I slipped back and I came forward and I fell back a little bit again, but at least I was failing and falling forward at least. Yeah, so that's kind of how I did it. And now I just include more and more little things so I can keep on that journey of personal development. But it really starts with us. You have to reflect and figure out, what can I do to make myself stronger? What can I do to fix this thing that I don't want to be anymore?
But for you went even further. It's not only about you fixing yourself and becoming stronger. I mean, I know you and you're very passionate about helping other people to do the same. And that's, I guess, the green is the new black, right? That's the festival came about when you saw that just there's something there in the world which you're not happy about. And you would still think, I mean, in Singapore, you know, it's like, even though you are very multicultural and I know you grew up like all over the world, but you're also a new person here relatively, right? So just kind of walk in and say, hey, I have a message, you know, I'm just gonna change things. It requires a lot of character. So very, very brave.
Yeah.
And green is the new black. Tell me a bit more about that.
Yeah, so going back, I guess, to when I had that awakening moment and I decided I was going to do these festivals, it also started because I started discovering a lot more amazing brands. So brands that were conscious, brands that were eco or sustainable or socially conscious and ethical. And I started telling people about these cool brands that I was finding. And they were amazed, and I could see the light in their eyes being, oh, this is really interesting, and actually, how can I find these products too? So that,
like I said today about your dress and your earrings and everything else.
Exactly. So and that really triggered something in me. I was like, oh, people actually want these products. They want to discover this, but they're too time poor, they're too busy, or they don't know where to look. So that was one of the key reasons I wanted to create a platform like Green is New Black, so that people could come and actually discover these brands that were changing the world, that were doing things in a better way, that were pushing the status quo, and really creating products that are going to make a difference and a positive impact on not only people, but the world. And so that's kind of where Green is New Black started, is just me wanting to put an event together to bring these awesome brands together. With the Mind piece, we do a lot of really amazing talks. We bring together all these people to raise the internal consciousness. And as I said, it does start with us. Conscious living starts with us. And from that, then we can look at our consumption habits, how we can be conscious consumers, how we can do better, and then really looking at the impact we're having on the planet. Because at the end of the day, there is no planet B, and all of us are really playing a part. And I love to think of it as kind of having a Matrix moment. I'm a huge Matrix fan. So there's a scene.
Same here.
Yeah, I love it. There's a scene in the movie where Morpheus presents him with a red pill or a blue pill, and he has a choice to make. He knows that there's something not right with the world. He's searching for something more, and he's presented with this choice where he could go back to his life and ignore everything that he's kind of coming to terms with, or he can take the blue pill and really dive deep into the awakening and understanding what is actually going on. And that's how I look at conscious living, and that's how I look at sustainability, because it is there, it is out there. We all kind of know about it, but we don't really know about it. And a lot of us just choose to take the red pill, continue living the life we're living, continue over-consuming, continue buying from fast fashion brands, continue, with single-use plastic and all these things that we kind of know aren't that great, but it's easy and it's a life we know, so we go back to it. But the people who take that blue pill, take that plunge, pull back the veil, they see the truth, and they're finally living in the truth. And sometimes, it's a bit more painful and it's a bit harder, but at the end of the day, it's a lot more rewarding. And I think that's kind of where I like to think that we're playing a little bit of a part by helping people to take the blue pill, awakening them up, but doing that in a really fun, modern way where they actually feel connected. They don't feel isolated, they feel connected. And at the end of the day, it comes down to that, connecting with ourselves, with others, and with Mother Nature.
And for those who are watching it right now and they actually would like to participate one way or another, so what would be an easy and kind of easy way to actually start living more consciously in everyday life? Like, what are the tips?
Okay, so let me think of a couple, maybe 3 or 4 that you could do quite easily now. The first one is to really think about your wardrobe. So as I said, I came from the fashion industry, thinking about your clothes, where they come from, and really getting curious, understanding why, something has come to be, how many people have touched it, and what kind of world are you voting with your wallet. So why this is important is because, for example, for a single cotton t-shirt, it takes 2,720 liters of water to create. And if you're looking at all the cotton t-shirts you have, that's the same amount of water we drink in a 3-year period. So that's pretty crazy. So if you want to be more sustainable with your wardrobe, you can do things like clothes swap, you can do things like reuse, upcycle, or if you're going to buy new things, then support brands who are doing things sustainably and ethically. That's one big thing. Another big thing is, if you really care about climate change, an easy switch is to skip the burgers, because beef and animal agriculture is actually...
Thank God I don't eat meat anymore.
Yes.
Okay, so I feel better now.
So meat and animal agriculture is really a huge cause of climate change. In fact, by the UN standards, it's more than all of the exhaust combined. So if you were to really care about climate change, then skipping beef or having it less and replacing it with other food is a really big thing that you can do as well. Further to that, of course, is supporting brands and being really curious and educating yourself about where products come from, who's been affected along the way, what are they supporting. Ask them questions. When you ask brands questions, it shows you're interested in it and will help them to move their supply chains or to move their production to be more sustainable, both for the environment and for people.
Those are great tips, guys. So I'm definitely noted some. So we're going to go shopping for sure.
Yeah.
Now in those very, I would say short 2 years, but I know very intense for you, doing what you're doing, what was the biggest lesson from running those Green is the New Black events, approaching all those people, putting it all together, for you personally?
Wow, that's such a great question. The biggest thing that I learned, I think the biggest thing is patience. I think really being patient. When I started, part of that pressure cooker that I put on myself was because I expected people to see all the hard work I was doing, to kind of respect me even though I'd done nothing yet, and to just kind of take me seriously. But at the end of the day, it takes a while to build up trust. And you have to be patient. You have to keep showing up. You have to really be authentic and real. And I think being more patient and doing a lot of repetition to continually show up was something that I had to learn the hard way. And now I feel like I've learned so much through that. And even as I said, I kind of look at things now that I want to improve on myself, and then I figure out how I can do repetitive mantras or try to change my behavior through repetition. You know what? There's nothing I can do. This is out of my control. And that was like a pivotal moment for me. But again, it came down to me being patient, that yes, over time I would be able to rewire my brain, I would be able to break old habits and actually, create something. So patience.
Patience. And I know that in entrepreneurship right now, building a tribe, building a community is a huge thing. Okay, and you are great at doing it. And now when I look at you, the things that you do, I mean, you're not even 30 yet, and you already have such a huge track record with everything what you do. So now if we have people who are watching this and they would like to just kind of follow your footsteps in a way, maybe not in a particular way how you want to do this and how you're doing it right now, but they want to dive into business and, do something for the society, and maybe they don't have initially a lot of resources to do this. Like, what would be your advice for them if they have this desire to change, but they're not quite sure how to do this?
Yeah, again, it's another fantastic question. And I think the main thing for me was consistency. So I think the number one thing is to continually show up. So if that's a weekly newsletter, if it's a weekly article, if it's a weekly video, whatever it is, it's consistently showing up and providing really good value, good content to people. And because eventually people trust that the next thing's coming out, they see you being there regularly, they see you building up, kind of like a voice, they see you building up something that is consistent and reliable, and then they trust you and they delve into that. And I think that was one thing that was really important to me, is that I wanted to do stuff consistently. And then further to that, I just had a lot of fun doing it, and I kind of shared that fun, and I shared the amazing things that people were doing and the stories that they were, their stories of how they got there and why they were doing it. And that allows you to connect deeper with people and to connect authentically. And I think, again, it's just like showing up, being consistent, and just being there, and just finding something that people get excited about. So I think for us, it's really about igniting that fire in people to get them excited and doing it in a fun way about sustainability or conscious living. And yeah, we just provide a lot of value to people and just keep showing up.
Providing value and showing up. I love that. One more question before we wrap it up for today. Tell us something we don't know about Stephanie.
Something that you may not know about me. Okay, I guess that thing that I kind of keep in the closet, but I don't really, but that's something that you may not expect about someone that's promoting conscious living, is I love Netflix. I'm like a binge Netflix watcher. I absolutely love it. I love TV shows. I love following and getting really in love with characters, and following that, I think it helps to take me out of my mind sometimes. I'm quite an A-type personality. I think a lot. I'm quite intense. So just watching and kind of falling in love with these characters and following along the journey, that's something I love to do. And people can say that that's not very conscious or whatever, mind-numbing TV, but actually I love it. It fills me up.
That's great. So thank you so much. Guys, that was Stephanie. So as you can see, if you just follow your dreams and you kind of, stay on track and you show up and you have fun while doing what you do and just allow yourself to indulge in your passion, then eventually you will become really what you want to be. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye. We see you next time.
Bye. met Yana a couple of years ago, and I have absolutely loved watching yanatv and all the incredible work she's doing. She has this knack of finding some of the most inspiring, interesting, and change-makers from around Asia, and it's always a pleasure to watch her show, and now to actually have been on it as well. So Yana, keep doing all the amazing work you're doing, and keep finding those interesting thought leaders and giving them an incredible platform to share their life journeys.